Hello everyone, welcome back to Creative Civil Engineering Coach. In this session, we'll discuss about the two important types of bolts used for steel design connections. The two types of bolts used for the steel design connections are black bolts and HSFG bolt. Here, HSFG stands for High Strength Friction Grip Bolts. Black bolts are suitable for simple light duty applications while HSFG bolts are designed for high strength, slip resistant connections in heavy and dynamic steel structures. So in this picture you can observe the key differences between two different types of the bolts based on the type of material, property class, load transfer mechanism, strength capacity and their applications. Now we'll discuss about the key specifications of black bolts. Black bolts are ordinary, unfinished mild steel fasteners, typically property of class 4.6 grade. Black bolts transfer shear loads directly through the bolt shank. These bolts are used for light and static structures. Coming to HSFG bolts. HSFG bolts are high tensile medium carbon steel fasteners, typically of class 8.8 or 10.9 grade. In HSFG bolts, the load transfer mechanism is through surface friction rather than shear. These type of the bolts prevents slips under dynamic or heavy loads. So in this picture, you can observe the key differences between black bolts and HSFG bolts based on material and strength. Black bolts are usually made up of low carbon or mild steel, whereas HSFG bolts are made from medium carbon or alloy steel. Coming to the grade of the bolts, black bolts are usually 4.6 grade, where the ultimate tensile strength stands for 400 Newton per millimeter square and yield strength stands for 240 Newton per millimeter square. In HSFG bolt, the bolt grades are usually 8.8 or 10.9 class. Black bolts are usually ductile with higher elongation property, whereas HSFG bolts are significantly higher yield and tensile strength compared to black bolts. Now we'll look into the load transfer mechanism of black bolts and HSFG bolts. Black bolts act in a bearing and shear, so the shank portion itself resists the sliding force of the connected members. Whereas in HSFG bolts, these bolts acts through a high clamping preload or proof load that creates a tight frictional grip between connected steel surface, preventing relative slip entirely in slip critical joints. Black bolts depends upon bolt shank strength and bearing at the hole, whereas HSFG bolts depends upon friction from preload or proof load. The next important key differences between black bolts and HSFG bolts are their applications and loading type. Black bolts are limited to light minor structures under static load. Example, small trusses, purlins, bracings, or as a temporary erection pins. Whereas HSFG bolts are used for heavy infrastructure, bridges, major industrial plants, and structures subjected to severe vibration, stress reversal, or dynamic or cyclic loads. So I hope you understood about the differences between black bolts and HSFG bolts.